Good morning or good afternoon. Today we'll be learning about Quizzette 606 with the star. The star just represents highly accelerated math. So my second period kids. Go ahead and write your last name, comma, your first name, today's date, and then your class color, which is yellow. Let me choose a better green. There we go. Number 1 is going to ask you about greatest common factor, or as you are used to seeing it, GCF, of 3 integers, which is 20, 12, and 8 for Monday number 1. I'm going to list them from least to greatest, so 8, 12, and 20. And I'm going to go ahead and write the factors of 8, the factors of 12, the factors of 20, and I'm going to see which one they have in common that is the greatest. So 1 is a factor of all 3 of those numbers. 2 is also a factor of 8. 4 is also a factor of 8. And 8 is a factor of 8. 1 and 12 can be multiplied to get you 12. 2 times 6. And 3 times 4. And then 20 is 1 times 20. 2 times 10. 3 times nothing, 4 times 5, and I think that's it. So I do want you to list all the factors each day. I know some of you could have probably figured this out in your head that 4 is going to be the greatest factor or common factor that all 3 of these numbers have. You could have easily just looked at 20, 12, and 8, and thought 4. But I want you to list them because sometimes we think we know the answer, and it isn't until we write it out that we realize that we're wrong. So please get in the practice of not just doing mental math, but also try to write it down. You can challenge yourself and see if it is 4 before writing down the factors. But then you need proof. You need evidence that you indeed found the greatest common factor of all 3 numbers. So the GCF is 4. I'm going to go ahead and write it somewhere where I can fit all this. So I'm going to write greatest, you don't have to erase it. I just wanted to put GCF, greatest common factor, is 4. Number 2. Number 2 is going to be different each day. They are sample questions from your quiz, so make sure that you pay attention and that you try your best on those because you will see these questions again on chapter 2 quiz. So Carol has 18 red beads and 24 blue beads. She's making bracelets. Each bracelet is to have the same number of red beads and blue beads. What is the greatest number of bracelets she can make? Okay, so that just sounds like a greatest common factor problem. And that's the first thing that you need to determine with word problems is what is it getting to? What does it want you to find? And in this case, it wants us to find the greatest number of bracelets that Carol can make out of these given beads. So that's just another way of saying greatest common factor. So I'm going to write 18 and 24, and I'm going to list the factors of 18 and 24. So 1 is a factor and 18, because 1 times 18 is 18, so those are both factors. 2 times 9, and 3 times 6, and I believe those are all the factors of 18. Now let's list the factors of 24. 1 times 24 is 24. 2 and 12. Does 3 go into that? Let me see. Yes, it does. Wait, does it? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. Yes, it does. 8. And I'm not embarrassed to still use my fingers to count, so you shouldn't be either. Let me see. 4 goes into that 6 times. And I believe that's it. So my teachers taught me to do this little chart where it's like 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, to kind of organize myself from least to greatest. I believe you guys told me what this was called on Friday, but I already forgot. I just know that I just always list the multiples in order from least to greatest. Okay, so now I'm going to try to find the greatest common factor, the greatest amount of bracelets Carol can make. And I noticed that they have 1 in common, they have 2 in common, they have 3 in common. They don't have 4 in common. They definitely have 6 in common, and nothing else past 6. So Carol can make 6 bracelets. We would ideally put with equal amounts of red and blue beads, but I don't have room there. So Carol can make 6 bracelets. Now, number 3 says, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's this little code up here that says IXL E8 and IXL E10. I get these questions sometimes from a website called IXL. Now, you do have to pay for the membership. I'm hoping to get that software for us as a class so we can use it a little bit more. But that's just a mental note for me to know where I got these questions from. So IXL E8 and IXL E10 on number 3. So number 3 on Monday says, what is the least common multiple of 5, 10, and 7? So I'm going to list the factors of 5, 7, and 10. And I'm going to see what is the least common multiple that 5, 10, and 7 have in common. So the multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and then you can continue. And then the multiples of 7 are 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, and I run out of room. The multiples of 10 are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, so on and so forth. So if I'm looking here, I don't see anything that they have in common. I see 20 is a multiple of 5 and 20 is a multiple of 10, but 20 is not a multiple of 7. 30 is a multiple of 5. 30 is a multiple of 10, but 30 is not a multiple of 7 either. And then 35 is here, 35 is here, but 35 is not a multiple of 10. So I'm not going to have you write past maybe like the 7, 8, or 9 multiples. See how many you can fit on your paper. I want you to think of the greater 2 numbers. So we have 5 and 10. So I would think, 5 times 10 is 50 to 7 going to 50. No, it doesn't. Well, why don't you try 7 times 10? 7 times 10 is 70. Does 5 go into 70? Yes, it does. But the bigger question is that the least common multiple that 5, 7, and 10 have? Well, if you think of the multiples of 7, this one's going to be the more difficult one because 5 and 10, you already know if it ends in 0, it's a divisor of 10. If it ends in 5 or 0, it's a divisor of 5. But 7 there's really no pattern with the multiples of 7. So look at 7 and think of 7. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49. Those are all, I think maybe just one of those are a multiple of 5, but none of them so far are a multiple of 10. So we have to keep going. 49, 56. What's the next one? 63, and then 70. So 70 truly is the least or the lowest common multiple between 5, 7, and 10. So LCM is 70. And I know you can maybe do a trick where you multiply 10 times 7 times 5, and that's a common multiple of 5, 7, and 10, but it's not the least common multiple. So you do have to list them out. I know there's not a lot of room, so try to fit as many as you can in there. Thank you, Yellow class. I hope you have a good week, and if you have questions, please make sure you raise your hand.